You're listening to the JD Rucker Show. Let's begin.
Look, the House will do its work if there was a deal, but it has not materialized. And as of tonight, they have given us the cold shoulder. So they're ignoring this, what I believe is the top priority of the American people. It doesn't matter where I've been in the country over the last few weeks, Brett, whether I'm in New York or the Southeast or out West, they all say the same thing. They're deeply concerned about what's happening. We had 12,000 people come over that border one day last week on Wednesday. If you look at the statistics from October, November, and so far in December, more people have crossed that border illegally since any entire year during the Obama administration. It is not a sustainable situation. It is harming our country in ways that are hard to describe, and we have to get on top.
That was Speaker of the House Mike Johnson. For me, the jury is still out on him. I want to like him. I really do. I want him to be great. Every time I think maybe this guy's the right guy, he seems kind of swampy. And every time I think maybe this guy's just a swamp creature in disguise, he seems kind of America first. So it's kind of hit or miss. And I know that's part of the job. People don't realize how difficult it is to be Speaker of the House, to try to keep things moving forward while still maintaining your principles. It is, in many ways, you're almost like a traffic cop, very powerful traffic cop, but a traffic cop trying to keep a traffic jam in Congress from occurring. Even though I personally would love to see many traffic jams, the less Congress does, the better, generally speaking. But it seems as if their strategy right now, whether it's coming from Johnson or from the entirety of GOP leadership, their strategy is to try to force border security measures by tying it to Ukrainian aid. They think, oh, Joe Biden really likes Ukrainian aid, so let's not give him any Ukrainian aid until he addresses the border crisis. And I think it's a milquetoast, a very weak strategy. Number one, the border crisis is the vast majority of Americans back doing something about the border crisis. And while maybe they won't actively admit that they like the Republican ideas, especially if they're Democrats, they would prefer those, generally speaking, whether they would admit it or not. They would prefer those to what the Biden-Harris regime and the Democrat Party has been doing to keep our borders as wide open as possible. This is the issue that they need to address, they being not just Mike Johnson in the House, but also the Senate and also the White House, and in many ways also the judiciary. We do have certain lawsuits that are pending that could make an impact on what happens, and there needs to be more lawsuits. We haven't seen nearly enough. I mean, gosh, as much as I like Ken Paxton, I think that he's got about 50 different lawsuits he could have and should have filed by now regarding border security. But hey, he's been a busy man, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt as well. Here's the thing. Here's why I believe that it's a weak strategy to tie it to Ukraine. They should tie it to everything. There should be nothing that's even possibly put on the table until they address the border crisis, because this is a crisis. This is an existential threat. Every single day that we have an open border policy, we are destroying the United States of America. So there's no, you can't have Ukraine aid until you address the border crisis. How about you can't have anything? We will not look at any legislation to do anything at all. No budget, shut the government down, shut everything down. Nothing moves forward until we address the border crisis adequately. That's it. That's the kind of hardball that the Republican Party needs to play. That's the kind of job that I would expect from a Speaker of the House who truly is America first. And if Mike Johnson were to do that, then I would become a fan. Until he does that or something similar, something close to it, I'm still waiting to see some spark of actual leadership. So far, I haven't seen it. So far, the best that he's done is being able to unite the GOP behind him in the initial vote. And since then, we haven't seen a whole lot. Let's admit it. So fix the border crisis. It seems as if lately I've been ripping on Fox News more than CNN or MSNBC or any of those places. Of course, I've not been a fan of Fox News since before the 2020 election. But the 2020 election was the coup de grace. That's when I officially stopped watching anything on Fox News ever. Okay, I do not turn on Fox News ever. I've seen clips from it. I watch clips that get posted on social media of this, that, or the other. I'll occasionally even share clips. Okay, I mean, I'm not against sharing the data, but I will not contribute to them by becoming one of their viewers on their television channel, and I try to even avoid their YouTube channel, and I don't ever share share links from Fox News. You will not find a link to Fox News, at least in the primary body of the stories, over at thelibertydaily.com, discernreport.com, or any of the other places where I post content. I'm not going to contribute. I don't want to help them. They're part of the uniparty swamp propaganda gaslighting machine. They have no affection or love for America. No, that's not. I'm not trying to lump the entirety of Fox News, every employee, every show host into the same mix. But hey, let's face it. Once they lost Tucker Carlson, that was about 90% of their patriotism. The last 10%, there's a little bit here, a little bit there, But for the most part, I don't like any of them. Okay, I don't watch them. Anyway, you get the idea. So one of the things that I still don't watch, and I actually never ever watched really, was I guess I forgot what show it is. Fox and Friends. Too early for me. Here's an article though that highlights just one of the many reasons that I am not a fan of Fox News and will not watch them. This comes from my good friends over at revolver.news. Steve Doocy floats outrageous new plan to stop Trump, and his co-hosts quickly shoot him down. According to the article, honestly, what's happened to Steve Doocy? It's like he's transformed into a mashup of Chris Wallace and Shep Smith, but on steroids. Remember when he used to eagerly host Trump for weekly phone calls on the Fox and Friends show? Now he seems to have developed one of the most severe cases of stage 5 TDS we've ever seen. It's almost surreal, as though someone cornered him in a dark alley and threatened, "Turn against Trump or your kid's career in this town is over." That's the only way to make sense of his drastic change. And yet, here he is, staunchly defending Joe Biden, insisting Republicans lack any solid grounds for impeachment. You can't make this stuff up. Clearly, Steve's been hitting Hunter's crack pipe, according to Revolver News. And this is the quote. You don't actually have any facts to that point. You've got some circumstantial evidence. And the other thing is, of all those names, the one person who didn't profit is there's no evidence that Joe Biden did anything illegally. Now, this is the part where if I were a heavy laugher, I would be laughing like a big old belly laugh into the mic right now. I'd probably be spitting and crying because that's ludicrous. Joe Biden is unambiguously, clearly, even his own people, even Democrats, think that he did something wrong and he definitely was engaged in illegal activity. Okay, it's not the only people that don't think that are those who are spreading propaganda, like Steve Doocy, or those who are idiots. That's it. Okay, that's it. Period. You can't look at the evidence that's already been let out, and we're only seeing just the tip of the iceberg as far as actual evidence of Joe Biden's briberies, Joe Biden's corruption. Okay, it's clear. You're stupid if you don't see it. And I don't think Steve Doocy's stupid. I think that he's just part of the gang, part of the hate Trump crew, which means that he's going to, of course, defend Joe Biden with his dying breath if necessary. Back to the article. Unfortunately, the situation with Steve has deteriorated even further. Now he seems obsessed with concocting incredibly outlandish schemes to thwart President Trump, and his latest idea is particularly bizarre. In fact, it was so far-fetched that his cohorts probably shut it down. So, what's this grand plan of Steve's? He's proposing that Nikki Haley run as an independent candidate specifically to obstruct Trump's bid for the White House. In other words, he no longer believes that Nikki Haley has a chance, or Ron DeSantis, or Vivek Ramaswamy, or Chris Christie, or even as an independent, even Robert F. Kennedy Jr., or anybody else. So he's saying, hey, let's get Nikki to run. She can't win. She can't win the Republican primary. She can't win as an independent, but maybe she can pull enough votes away from Trump so that we can get 4 more years of the Biden-Harris regime. Or, well, we wouldn't actually get 4 years. We'd only get about a year and a half of the Biden-Harris regime because the nation would not survive. The nation would not survive any more time. I still stand by I put it at about maybe an 80% chance that we even have an election. Things are getting bad. 2024 looks awful. I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer here. Okay, all doom and gloom, but my gosh, I mean, this guy is an idiot. And as Amy over there at Revolver News noted, Steve Doocy is experiencing stage 5 Trump derangement syndrome. There's just no other way to put it. There's no other possibility here. You don't say stupid things like that and not be completely unhinged from reality. But hey, It is what it is. Nikki Haley, for her part, is doing her thing. I already covered this, so I'm not going to cover it again. There was an article I'm not going to put up there. Ben Barty over at PJ Media put up an article about how Hillary Clinton is, or I'm sorry, how Nikki Haley is Hillary Clinton 2.0. I'll leave a link of it in the description. You can read it, but here's the thing. I've already said this in the past shows. I just want to reiterate it real quickly. The polls that are showing that Nikki Haley would beat Joe Biden by 17 points, they are completely 100% certain manufactured. There's no chance that she could possibly do that. There's no chance that the polls are actually saying that. This is a manufactured poll. The idea here is to try to encourage those who are maybe, voting for Trump, or maybe they're on the fence about Trump, and they want to show a shock stat of 17% win over Joe Biden, trying to get the people who are like, hey, you know what? We need a Republican. Trump's the best Republican for the job, but maybe not. Maybe Hillary Clinton. It's a Freudian slip. I'm not doing that intentionally. Maybe Nikki Haley is the one that could actually be better at defeating Joe Biden. That's the narrative they want to press. And that narrative is absolutely positively false. I said when I talked about this, not the last show, but 2 shows ago, I said, you know what? I'm at about 98%, maybe 99% certain that it's false. Now I can't say why. I have insider information that tells me that yes, it is absolutely positively false. But I do. And I can't reveal how I got that information. But it doesn't matter, because even at 98%, that's certain enough. Now I just have confirmation because of that show. Received confirmation. Anyway, I'm getting myself into trouble here. Bottom line is this: Nikki Haley is not the right person for either job. Whether you want her to be the nominee, you want her to be the president, and the third option, you want her to be Steve Ducey's Trump spoiler, so we can just completely implode under another partial Biden-Harris regime term. Not going to happen. Must not be allowed to happen. I shouldn't say not. I mean, at this stage, if we've learned anything over the last 3 or 4 years, it's that you can't say that it ain't going to happen, because crazier things have happened. So let's do our part and make sure that it does not happen. I think it seems as if every day I have at least one story that I'm talking about the World Economic Forum, and there's a reason for this. Look, again, I hate to be the Chicken Little doomsday guy, right? I really do. For those who may be new to the show, and thank you all for being new to the show. We've been getting new viewers every show. It seems as if they're all moving up nicely, so I appreciate that. But for those who don't know, I was not always a conspiracy theorist. I was not always the guy that was calling out the World Economic Forum or the Council for Inclusive Capitalism or the World Health Organization or the Uniparty swamp or the globalist elite cabal in general, the powers and principalities, the powers that be, the liberal world order, whatever you want to call them. I wasn't that guy. I was the guy that was sitting back and saying, oh, hey, let's get more into Republican politics and stuff like that. And I've since obviously learned over the recent years, to no longer trust anybody, to question everything, and not to trust anyone who is who is in power, because chances are, if they are in power, then they are somehow complicit. Either they're turning their back on stuff, or there's a handful, I guess. There are a few good guys in government, but so few. Most of them are just awful. And if they aren't awful, then they're removed from government. I would say that Madison Cawthorn is a perfect example of somebody who they just couldn't corrupt, so they got rid of him. Mitch McConnell and his team decided, hey, since we can't get this guy, get dirt on this guy, let's just get rid of him. And that's exactly what they did. They primaried him out of office. And I don't know, maybe he wasn't a good guy, for all I know. I don't know. I didn't follow Madison Cawthorn enough to know. He wasn't in Congress for long enough for me to know whether or not he was a good guy or not. But I know that they did remove him, so that at least tells me chances are he probably was a good guy. Who knows? But with that said, the World Economic Forum is an evil organization. They have been for the last 50 years, and they're just getting worse and worse and worse. And they're becoming more powerful, more in the public light. And of course, their primary I don't want to even say their goal, because it's not really their goal. Their primary weapon of choice is climate change. This is what they use for pretty much everything that they want to do. They want to depopulate the planet. Why? Because of climate change. They want to force everybody to own nothing and pretend like they're happy. Why? Because of climate change. 15-minute cities, climate change. Everything has to do with climate change. And so it's no shocker when we see this stories like this one, in which you've got the World Economic Forum demanding $3.5 trillion per year to decarbonize the planet and reach net zero and restore nature. These are anti-humans. These anti-humans are at it again, according to Jordan Schechtel, who I'm actually supposed to be contacting this week. Hopefully, we'll be able to get him on the show because I would love. I've never spoken to him directly. We've just chit-chatted on Twitter and other places. I've known him for years without actually ever talking to him. So hopefully, we'll get him on the show here soon. But his and his wonderful Substack, one of the best out there, dossier.today. You should check it out and become a subscriber. With that said, this article it's a doozy. Let's go ahead and get into it. The creepy anti-humans who run the World Economic Forum have decided that we must do more to save Gaia. According to a new white paper published Wednesday by the Davos outfit in partnership with McKinsey and Company, it's time to print more money to further devalue the wealth of the common man in order to pursue the apparent noble goal of decarbonization. Let me repeat that because I love the way that he just worded this. According to these bad guys, it's time to print more money to further devalue the wealth of the common man in order to pursue the apparent noble goal of decarbonization. And here's a quote from the report. The world needs up to $3.5 trillion of additional investment each year, to reach net zero and restore nature. The report highlights state, adding that an organization spun up by the WEF called Giving to Amplify Earth Action, which it's close to Gaia. I'm sure they probably pronounce it Gaia, Gaea. Giving to Amplify Earth Action is determined to shake down the relevant parties for the money. According to the white paper, which is creepily titled, The Role of Public-Private Philanthropic Partnerships in Driving Climate and Nature Transitions. I've talked often about public-private partnerships. This is a new one for me, adding that philanthropic aspect to it. It's like, oh, now it must be altruistic and pure and genuine and awesome, which makes me believe that, of course, since it's coming from the WEF, that it is even more evil than your standard public-private partnerships. The role of public-private philanthropic partnerships in driving climate and nature transitions. Wow, that just smells of double speak evil. Anyway, private organizations should surrender, according to the white paper, private organizations should surrender their autonomy to governments in exchange for an endless amount of credit and a backstop of protections should their business fail in the open market. In other words, this goes back to his whole concept of Klaus Schwab's concept of stakeholder capitalism, versus shareholder capitalism. Stakeholder capitalism is just another variation of Marxism. Well, it's not even a variation. It really is a direct implementation of Marxism under a fancy name that makes people think, oh, this is capitalism. I was having a discussion with one of my employees about the difference between capitalism and crony capitalism. In many ways, capitalism and crony capitalism, they're not similar in any way. They're actually the exact opposite of each other. I would argue, I could make a very valid argument that crony capitalism is a weaponization of capitalistic principles that would make it even more opposite than capitalism is to socialism. But that's a discussion for another day and probably not even on this channel. That's more something to write out rather than talk about because that can be really, really boring talk. But anyway, we were talking about that. And here what they're saying is that, hey, we're going to take over businesses. We're going to bully them, but we're also going to empower them with limitless credit so that if they fail, they won't fail. In other words, they're going to try to turn it into the same inefficient globs of bureaucracy the government has become, and where basically anything goes as long as it achieves the greater good, at least the greater good as decided upon by the globalist elite cabal, which of course is bad for the rest of us, the vast majority of human beings on the planet. Back to the article. I can't help but point out that this is essentially the exact governmental structure of the Chinese Communist Party, which WEF founder Klaus Schwab has hailed as a model for governance. Must just be a coincidence, according to Jordan. Putting that 3.5 trillion into perspective, it's almost 60% of the annual U.S. federal budget. And if we know anything about international public private efforts, it seems that U.S. taxpayers are first to get shaken down in the process. 2 weeks ago, the WEF declared in another report that $13.5 trillion would be needed as soon as humanly possible to avoid a climate catastrophe. According to the report, which was written with the help of Accenture, another pay-to-play consulting outfit, the date for which the Earth will melt has been rolled back from 25 years ago to 2050. And what he's saying is, for those who don't recall, the talking point of, we're 10 years away from global warming melting the planet. They used to call it global warming before they realized that, oh wait, the world isn't just warming, sometimes it's cooling, therefore we have to call it climate change, because you can't have such cold winters unless there's global warming, right? So they changed the language to focus on climate change, the climate catastrophe, the climate disaster, versus their old talk of global warming. We're all going to melt. Of course, that all started, he says 25 years ago. Is actually technically it was longer ago than that, but we'll go with the understanding that approximately 35 years ago they started saying 10 years, and that would mean that we were supposed to be dead 25 years ago, dead already, because we didn't do anything. I mean, we haven't done anything that none of the major massive changes that they have called for have happened. None of them. I mean, we're recycling more. That's like the incremental changes that we've made have accounted for less than 1% of the changes that they've demanded. The changes that they say were absolutely positively 100% backed by 97% scientists as required immediately, or else we're all going to die 25 years ago. Well, now it's been pushed forward to 2050. I guess that makes it easier for them to it gives them less intervals through which they have to reset their clock to say, oh no, this time it's it. This is it. Okay. By the year 1984, we're all going to die, is what they were saying. But of course, that didn't happen because we're still here. Even though 1984 does seem to be much more prevalent in today's world for different reasons, but I digress. Back to the article. As you can see below in a screenshot of the report, the depopulation advocates stress the need for fast-tracking decarbonization, a word that is used 91 times in the published memo. 91 times. Next month, the WEF will host its annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland. The theme of the meeting this time is rebuilding trust. This is pretty funny, actually. I did not know that. This is the first time hearing about that. Rebuilding trust. There is no trust. Okay? Do you trust the World Economic Forum? Do you trust the globalists? Do you trust King Charles? Do you trust George Soros, Bill Gates? Do you trust Barack Obama? They are losing in many ways. And this is the best news that we've had in a while. I would have argued that it was all that we're getting conned, just even a month or two ago. I would have said, hey, no. Their plans are moving forward just fine. We're not winning, but we are. We are. Maybe we're not winning. We're not winning the war, but we are winning battles here and there, battles that they did not expect to lose. We can tell this because they're accelerating a lot of their plans. They didn't want to accelerate. I don't think with as much as they were able to accomplish through pandemic panic theater, I don't think they accomplished as much as they thought they would. I really, in retrospect, I now think, hey, they really thought they were going to get 97, 98% of us. Okay, they didn't. Praise God for that. Praise God for the ability for us to get information out to people, to stoke the skepticism, the necessary skepticism that was needed to keep people from making permanent changes to their body, which is what hundreds of millions of Americans did, and which, billions of people worldwide have now made permanent changes to their bodies. We don't know what the end results are going to be. So, but thankfully, there is a healthy skepticism now that's preventing people from doing any further damage. We're talking about, very tiny percentages on this latest go around compared to go arounds in the previous iterations. So I think that was a little bit unexpected. I think they think that they were going to get more than that. I think that they think that they were going to have be able to win some of these elections that they have been losing lately worldwide. And I think they're scared. I think they realize that maybe if this trend continues, that somebody like a Donald Trump is going to be back in office. If this trend continues, then their control over the uniparty swamp is going to dissolve. I don't know. As I said earlier in the previous segment, I don't know. The jury is still out on Mike Johnson, but I can tell you this: that this wasn't their plan. Okay, they weren't intending for Kevin McCarthy to be forced out. That was a surprise to them. I truly believe that. Sometimes I think that the vast majority of people, including many of my viewers, don't give them enough credit for how much control they have. But I think sometimes I might give them too much credit. I might be looking for some hidden agenda that, or no, it's not the agenda. Some 4D chess play that they're actually getting us to do this when they're really we're expecting that, or they're planning this. Whatever, you get the idea. Maybe I give them too much credit. Maybe we can defeat them. Now, as I've said a billion times, I believe that the best and most important thing we can do is to secure ourselves, and through prayer, secure our souls. This is the most important thing. Okay, belief in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. If you do nothing else ever, that's it. Just do that. If you do that, then whatever else happens in this world, don't. It's fleeting. I don't care if we're going to be here for another 10 years or 100 years or 1,000 years. I don't care if you're 12 years old or 115 years old. It's all fleeting, okay? Compared to eternity, it is fleeting. So keep that in mind. But also, above and beyond that, once you've got that established, it's important to establish your preparations in other ways. I'll say it probably 15 times during this show. Get out of the cities. Stock up on food, water, ammunition, meds, Bibles, and make sure you do this in a way, and energy. I always forget to mention energy. Figure out energy sources. And the last one I always mention is the financial aspect of it. Physical gold and silver. Physical gold and silver. That's why I'm my wonderful sponsors over at Genesis Gold Group. This is a Christian company. This is the reason that I work with them. It's not just because they're a Christian company. There are a few Christian gold companies out there, but this is the one that doesn't play games, doesn't try to offer you $10,000 in free silver, which of course is not free. Of course it's not free, but still many people fall for that. I work with Genesis Gold Group because they're an honest, America First Christian company. And I would recommend, if you have wealth or retirement that you want to protect, go to jdrgold.com. That's jdrgold.com. Fill out a form and get the information that you need. They'll help you out. They will take care of you. Even during the Christmas holiday, they're going to take care of you. They'll figure out a way. So hop on that, jdrgold.com. I was going to go on a break, but I guess I don't need to anymore because I just did my spiel. So let's move on to the next story. Awesome. One of the best things about having open DMs on Twitter is that I do get to receive some of the greatest fan mail of all time. Sometimes the fan mail is just so awesome that I have to share, such as this one, which was a response to my analysis of Leave the World Behind, the movie by executive producers Barack and Michelle Obama. This is according to Colin. Colin says, "You're a pig." Of course, Colin spells "your" with Y-O-U-R. "You're a pig. You know you're only angry about that movie because the Obamas made it. It's entertainment, not politics. They did their thing, and now they're making movies." That's one sentence, by the way. "If Trump made a movie like that, you would say it's an Oscar winner. You're a pig, and thelibertydaily.com is racist trash." Love it. Here's my reply to Colin. "Thank you for your comment, Colin. If Donald Trump made a movie after leaving office about the United States falling under cyber attack before imploding, a movie that lays out in specific detail the process through which our nation could be destroyed, you would not be complaining about my assessment. You would say that Trump is a traitor and that MAGA patriots are likely going to carry out the plan. I, on the other hand, would still be assessing the movie the same way because unlike you, my concern is the messaging, not siding with my tribe on all issues. Thank you for reading thelibertydaily.com, and be sure to check out discernreport.com for similar content." We're changing lives, folks. We're making fans with thelibertydaily.com, changing lives, changing minds on a daily basis. All right, I'm going to play for you a clip. This is a clip of absolute utter insanity. This is Democrats, corporate media puppets out there, and members of the anti-Trump, the never Trumper squads, going out there and saying the most insane theories about what would happen if Donald Trump is elected president once again. Now, of course, you're going to laugh through it. I will probably laugh. So if you hear me laughing, then I apologize for that. But yeah, it's that insane. Now, if you'd asked me a couple months ago, will the Democrats pull out the most unhinged ideas and conspiracy theories about what a Donald Trump second presidency would be like, I would have said absolutely. It's a foregone conclusion. They're going to do that. But if you'd asked me when, I would have said, you know what? They'll probably do it right after it's certain that he's going to be the nominee, after there's just no chance of anyone else ever beating, which I think we're already there, by the way. But once they acknowledge that, that's when they'll whip it out. But I was wrong. They've been whipping it out since November. Some would say since before then. They've been saying that he is going to literally destroy the United States of America if he were to be elected president. And that tells you something. That tells you that they're not scared, or they're not just scared of him winning the general election. They think that that there's still hope that they can prevent him from even winning the GOP nomination. That's why they're busting out with all these theories today. That's why they're planting these seeds today. So let me play the clip. And again, don't drink anything while you're watching this, because you'll probably spit it out in laughter.
What would a second Donald Trump term look like?
Well, he cannot be the next president. Because if he is,
you can't imagine the things that he's going to do. Mexico, Canada. We can't go to Canada because eventually Canada will become annexed to America.
And shoot visitors to the White House. Yeah, that means he can shoot the First Lady.
We're going to see violence, the likes of which we didn't even see on January 6th.
Make it illegal to run against him, to throw his opponents in jail, to shut down the media.
He will make himself into the Fuhrer, and he will make everybody raise their hand and salute him.
Using martial law against the American people.
Terminate the Constitution.
To rewrite the Constitution.
Create mass internment camps.
Throw everyone into Gitmo.
Might be sent to jail, or their rights might be suppressed, especially minority groups in society.
You might have any number of things happen to you and your family.
Every one of us, our freedom, our liberty, none of us is safe.
It's going to have people around him executing against an enemy's list.
Assassinate generals.
Ordering troops to attack American citizens.
Trump's very well-armed and extremist base will try to kill people.
He's going to basically burn the house down.
He will unravel the institutions of our democracy.
Draw similarities between Mussolini and Hitler.
Adolf Hitler and Benito Mussolini.
Makes Donald Trump even more dangerous.
Wants to take away your vote.
Senate and the House are immediately going to be paralyzed.
People will begin in their minds to censor themselves. They might say, well, maybe I shouldn't say this.
This is the end of democracy.
I think that could be the end of our democracy.
But democracy is dead if Trump is reelected.
Cozy up to Putin that democracy will be at risk.
The absolute destruction of the Justice Department as we know it.
The Justice Department could be entirely transformed.
I am really concerned about that.
Every person who was associated with the attempted coup elevated in the administration.
If he's reelected, he will curb transgender rights.
The end of the rule of law.
Arrest political opponents.
To persecute, not prosecute, but persecute his enemies.
Take a wrecking ball to the rule of law.
He's going to make the law. Everyone else will have to follow.
A vote for Donald Trump may mean the last election that you ever get to vote in.
To go after the independent and free parts of American civic life.
He would tear down our institutions.
Purge the government of employees.
Department by department effort to weaponize the powers of the government.
To use the military to quash protests.
Ridding the government of all democratic safeguards.
Junking American democracy as we have always known it.
That he would try to stay in office beyond a second term. That he would never leave office.
There's no question.
Trump is reelected, he won't leave.
Donald Trump will never leave office voluntarily.
And what that means is that everybody who wants us to remain a republic has to put every other thing aside and work together urgently right now to stop that from happening.
Was I right? Now, granted, I did. Thank God, Restream does mute my microphone while it's playing those videos. So, or else you probably would have heard me laugh. So that's a good thing. Great feature that I had never noticed before. I'm always quiet. I play these videos. And I'm like, be quiet. Don't say anything. Apparently, it mutes my mic. I did not know that. That's good. Anyway, but yeah, that's crazy. I mean, they are nuts. But there's something to keep in mind. You might have chuckled. You probably did. You might have thought, wow, how stupid do they think we are? That's what I thought at first. And then I remembered a lot of Americans really are that stupid. A lot of Americans are going to hear those words, hear them repeated over and over again, hear different variations said by multiple hosts on CNN, MSNBC, wherever, even Fox News, I'm sure, will bust out with some of the unhinged rants at some point, whether through a guest or through Brett Baer or whoever. But bottom line is that this is going to be repeated. This is the theme. They're already announcing it. They've already declared it. This is what they're going to say. If Trump is elected president, it's literally the end of America. If Trump is elected president, we are all going to be shot and killed. If Trump is elected president, then this great democracy will be no more. All the dramatic speech. Well, it works, folks. You can't forget that. Don't forget. Look at the people you work with. Look at your neighbors. Look at your friends. Look at some of your relatives. Okay? They're going to soak this in, eat it up, regurgitate it, or at the very least have that seed planted in their brain. They must stop Trump at all costs. That's what they're calling for. That's what these allegedly unbiased idiots in corporate media, these useful idiots that the globalist elite cabal use to gaslight, to propagandize, to manipulate, indoctrinate, brainwash the people. Unfortunately, there are very many of us, maybe not you and me, but at least other Americans who are very easily brainwashed and who will watch that, who will hear these words reiterated over and over again and think that it's actually true. I do want to take a quick moment to remind people, if you didn't hear in the beginning, and I actually don't know if I said it at the beginning, so maybe this is the first time you're hearing it, but we have launched a secondary Rumble channel. The reason we did this was because, number one, I wanted a place where I could take these short clips from these episodes. I do 2-hour episodes daily, but sometimes people just want to see 2, 3, 5-minute clips, and that's great. And I want to put those somewhere. Perhaps more importantly, I'm doing it because for whatever reason, my Rumble channel, my primary Rumble channel, I guess it's banned from the front page of Rumble. Don't know why. Don't know what I did. I don't know of anybody else who does that, but we'll have hundreds of live viewers on the live show, and we'll look and we'll see that in their podcast section they've got highlighted shows that have 3 or 4 viewers at a time. And I'll go into the actual podcast section and I'll see we're not even listed. We're not there at all. So it is what it is. But the funny part is then when I take it and on my secondary Rumble channel, which you can find over at JD Rucker /Rumble1, the number 1, JD Rucker /Rumble1, that's the Discern TV channel. Whenever I post there, I could have eight live viewers, because again, we're just getting it built up. I could have 8 live viewers and it'll make the front page somehow of Rumble. I don't know how this, I don't play the algorithm game. I just put out content and hope people see it. But if you would, please, wherever you're watching me today, right now, whether you're watching me through the Liberty Daily's Rumble channel or Freedom First Network, the JD Rucker Show Rumble channel, please follow the other one, what's going to eventually be my primary one, and it's the Discern TV Rumble channel, and you can find it at jdrucker.com/Rumble1. Rumble, the number 1. Thank you. For some reason, Bud Light they're apparently getting a reprieve from certain people. Now, you might say the reason is pretty darn obvious. The reason is money. You've got celebrities like Kid Rock, Dana White. We know that Dana White's getting paid a whole lot of money. We can suspect that Kid Rock went on Tucker Carlson and said, hey, you know what? We punched him in the nose and now it's all good. They've received their punishment. They've learned their lesson. Let's make sure that let's go ahead and start drinking them again. Of course, he told that to Tucker Carlson, saying, at the end of the day, when you step back and look at it, like, yeah, they deserved a black eye and they got one. They made a mistake. And then he's asking us to essentially, for lack of a better word, to forgive them. It's time to move on and maybe focus our attention on others. And that part is to some extent agreeable, but I'll get into why here in a second, not the moving on part, but to focus on others. Then you've got Dana White. Dana White, their company received a lot of money. The UFC received a lot of money, according to Alex Nitzberg over at The Blaze. UFC CEO Dana White told Tucker Carlson that people who view themselves as patriots should be drinking gallons of Bud Light. White claims that such individuals are way more aligned with Anheuser-Busch than with other beer companies. This is, of course, I don't know, and that's not true. That's just flat out not true at all, in my humble opinion. But I want to be clear about something with Bud Light. I have been against, not the boycotts, I've been all in favor of boycotting Bud Light, boycotting Anheuser-Busch. It's easier for me to say because I don't actually drink beer. I don't drink anything, really. Maybe 2 or 3 times a year at most in a very, very lustful year. Not much of a drinker, but I used to drink a lot. There was a time when I drank every day, and Bud Light was amongst them. If I were still drinking, I would never, ever, ever drink Bud Light, nor would I ever shop at Disney, watch Disney movies, shop at Target. Okay. My complaint about Bud Light isn't that they didn't get what they deserved. I think they did, and they should get more. My complaint about Bud Light is that why did they get singled out so much when others deserve far worse punishment? Look at Target, as I mentioned. Target, Bud Light hired a transgender spokesperson and put him on the cans. Target is actually attempting to indoctrinate children into an LGBTQIA plus supremacy mindset, lifestyle. Their sin is far worse, and yet they don't get nearly the attention that Bud Light has received. So no, I don't agree with Dana White or Kid Rock in their opinions that we should forgive Bud Light. I think we should be boycotting a whole lot more than that, and I don't think I'm alone, according to Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire, one of the ultimate in cultural Marxist adversaries. He's the one that really hits them the hardest, especially over there at the Daily Wire. He hits harder than anybody at the Daily Wire, in my humble opinion. But he posted on the 12th. That was it? Wednesday? Tuesday. He posted, the Bud Light boycott is the one time in modern history when conservatives have staged an effective boycott against a major corporate brand. If we back away from this victory now, it will show that we've learned nothing and don't want to win. Not going to happen. Boycott continues. This shouldn't be a conversation. Bud Light is a brand owned by a foreign conglomerate that tried to push trans ideology and is now paying the price. There's absolutely no legitimate reason to back away or let off the gas. They deserve everything that's happened to them, and I would argue that they deserve even more than what's happened to them. They should be, their business should be obliterated. Set an example. We do need to set more examples. And as Matt Walsh pointed out, this is the only real one. Target, yes, they've had some ups and downs, but so many other companies have. The fact that Target is still able to do business, that they're still pushing their cultural Marxist agenda through the items that they sell. This is something that should be a wake-up call. What about Amazon? What about Walmart? What about any of these brands? Okay? Their sins are far, far, far worse than Bud Light. And yet we can barely get anyone to boycott them. Don't even get me started on the NFL. I haven't watched an NFL game. Granted, I watched the Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl. My excuse, and it's a feeble excuse, but my excuse was, hey, you know what? There was a Christian angle to it. They were talking about there were going to be Christian ads, which there technically weren't. I'll talk about that some other day. But that many of the main players, including the 2 starting quarterbacks, were active and unabashed Christians. That was interesting to me. I went ahead and watched it. That's the only NFL game I've watched since 2017. Okay, long before most people were talking about NFL boycotts, I've been boycotting them. And I used to watch football every Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Whenever there was football on, I watched it. I was a huge fan of the NFL, and now I am not. I won't be, again, until they change their ways. We need to be more like that. I'm not trying to say, oh, well, I'm the virtuous one. You guys are terrible if you watch the NFL. Look, we all pick our battles. That one is one of my battles. Okay? And even then, like I said, I watched the Super Bowl. The last one. It's the only one I've seen in years. But hey, I did watch an NFL game. I actually regret it, even though it was a great game. With that said, no, there is no reprieve for Bud Light. And there should be no reprieve for anybody who goes down that road. The whole reason that the left is able to win in so many of these battles is because they do not take prisoners. There is no forgiveness. They don't back down. Once they will double and triple down. I don't care if they get exactly everything they want or demand. It's never going to be enough. Now, is that the right way to do things? No, it's not. We don't live in a world where the right things work anymore. We live in a world where we have to fight fire with fire. And in my humble opinion, we have to fight anyone who engages, any company, any individual. We have to fight those who engage in cultural Marxism and spreading false ideologies, spreading destructive ideologies. They need to be dealt with the full force of boycotts. Let's use our money, use our pocketbook, use our buying power, and especially our non-buying power. Use that against those who want to destroy America. Patriots across the nation get their news on a daily basis at thelibertydaily.com. I am the editor over there. I take great pride in that fact, and we do what I consider to be a fantastic job of keeping Americans truly informed, getting around the BS of corporate media and exposing the actual truth to the people. Go to thelibertydaily.com today. Well, I'm about to play a trailer for a movie. I'm not endorsing this. This is not an advertisement for this movie. You'll understand why once you see it. It's called Civil War, and it comes out in 2024. So let's watch that.
States have seceded. The United States Army ramps up activity.
The White House issued warnings to the Western forces as well as the Florida Alliance.
The three-term president assures the uprising will be dealt with swiftly.
Let me know if you want to try anything on.
I guess aware there's like a pretty huge civil war going on all across America.
We just try to stay out. With what we see on the news, seems like it's for the best.
Citizens of America.
The so-called Western forces of Texas and California
have suffered a very great defeat at the hands of the United States military.
Mr. President, do you regret the use of airstrikes against American citizens? We're moving to D.C. today.
We need to go down there.
They shoot journalists on sight in the Capitol. Every instinct in me says this is death. What if...
Every time I survived the war zone, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But here we are.
There's some kind of misunderstanding here. Look, we're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you? You don't know?
The Western forces will reach the White House on July 4th.
Oh my God.
Get in the car! Get in the car!
Move, move, move!
You're gonna hang back.
I'm not hanging back.
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go, 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 go!
God bless America.
Well, what do you think? Is this a clear-cut example of predictive programming? I would say it is. It's either fear-mongering to send us in the wrong direction, or it's predictive programming saying, hey, folks, come with the election, come 2024, whether it's because Trump wins or because Trump loses, either way, I mean, it goes 50-50. What could ever spark a civil or a revolutionary war here in the United States of America? It would be based around the 2024 election, most likely. And I would see, I mean, you could make equal arguments. Trump wins, oh no, civil war. Trump loses, oh no, civil war. I don't know. All I know is that they are trying to prepare something. They're trying to normalize it, plant the seeds, normalize this idea in our brains. I talked a little bit about predictive programming when I discussed the other day when I discussed Leave the World Behind. I think that the predictive programming nature of that, with cyber attacks being the I guess what they're trying to prep us for, I think that was a little bit less than what the Civil War movie seems to be depicting, but we will see. Stay frosty, folks. All I can say, above all else, number one, pray, get right with God. That's the most important thing. If you only do that, then that's enough. If you want to do more, get out of the cities, get out of the suburbs, get food, water, ammunition, meds, Bibles, and something to barter with, precious metals or something, because I would not want to be in a major city or even near a major city when the crap hits the fan. I am a big fan of offering solutions, not just throwing out the problems, but offering solutions to those problems. But there's some times when there really is no direct solution. I mean, the best we can do is pray and try to escape. And I think this next story is an example of one of those. There was a time not too long ago, some of you may even be old enough to remember a day, in small town America where you could go and basically exist without a driver's license or a state-issued ID. You could do pretty much anything that you wanted to because everybody knew each other. The identification was the people that they knew. Okay, they could, if there was a need for some form of identification, it would be your birth certificate, and that would be at the county clerk's office, and so you'd have to go there. And if you needed further identification, like for example, for a bank account, you had to know your name, your full name, and you needed to know your bank account number, and that's it, pretty much. Social security number or whatever. But you didn't have to present photo IDs because they didn't have them. And even as they started to get rolled out, a lot of small towns pushed it back against them for a long time. Today, the only thing that you could possibly do without having an ID in the real world is to vote in certain cities. But I digress. That's a discussion for another day. Now they're pushing something even worse, something harsher, something that can be more of an existential threat, biometric digital IDs. Now, this is generally lower on the totem pole as far as the things that those of us in alternative or fringe media or whatever you want to call us, things that we talk about. Sure, we talk about central bank digital currencies ad nauseum. We talk about artificial intelligence and how it's going to eventually destroy us if we don't stop it now. We talk about quantum computing. We talk about, and non-anonymous internet. We talk about all these various threats. And we do talk about digital IDs, but the biometric aspect of it is something that doesn't get discussed nearly as much. We're seeing it everywhere. I mean, it's popping up. You might have a grocery store near you where you can just pay for it with your palm print. Your palm print has everything that you need. It's got all your credit card information and everything. Well, eventually, biometric digital IDs are going to be ubiquitous. They are going to be accepted pretty much everywhere, and they're going to have everything. Okay? They're going to have everything. They're going to have your medical records, your banking information, all of your credit cards. You won't need to carry anything around. No wallet, no nothing. Everything's going to be tied to your face or your palm print or a combination thereof. And that's very concerning for those of us who are skeptical of such things. But here's the thing. Vast majority of Americans, they're going to embrace this. They're going to look at this as a positive thing. That's why I say there's no way that, normally when there's something that's bad, really bad out there, all we've got to do is get the information out, do the best we can to alert people, and try to keep our friends, relatives, everybody else that we know and love, keep them at least informed enough to not fall for whatever the scheme is, whether it's a jab or whatever. But in this case, they're not going to believe us. They're not going to, your average normie is not going to sit here and say, oh my gosh, this is a horrible thing. No, they're going to say, wow, that's convenient. Wow, that's amazing technology. Wow, this will make things easier. Wow, wow, wow. They're going to fall for this and love it. They're going to love it. And it's spreading across the world, or at least across America right now. Article I posted over at discern.tv titled Global Sales Pitch, Biometric Digital IDs Make Flying Easier. And I almost put the word easier in quotes, but except that this really does make things easier. It's not a lie. The convenience factor is not a lie. It's not extremely much easier, but let's face it, you can't deny that it does save a little bit of time. Not much, but a little bit. And over time, as they try to push for this more and more and more, it will eventually save a lot of time. It'll eventually be like trying to check into an airline, the normal way. It'll be like trying to walk up to a convenience store and pay with a check. And, people are in line. It's like, what the heck is that thing? A checkbook? What's he doing? He's writing a check for $4.86. What the heck's wrong with this person? Why does this establishment even accept checks? This is terrible. Pull out your cell phone. Go Karen on the guy. Yeah, that's going to happen. Eventually, everybody's going to want to be pushing for this. So the solution is if you really want to avoid it, you're going to have to get off grid. There's no way around it. Okay? There really is no way around it. According to the article, there are 3 stages in every plan to force people into using various identification technologies. This has been the case since the invention of the driver's license. Stage 1, convenience. Stage 2, security and access. Stage 3, mandate. And I do believe that at some point in our future, unless there is a cataclysmic change, at some point in our future, digital IDs will be, specifically biometric digital IDs, will be required. And they will use that second stage, the security aspect of it. All it'll take is another terrorist attack, or a rash of identity thefts causing great harm to the masses or whatever. They're going to make it to where, hey, look, if you really want to operate in the United States of America in 2026, then you're going to have to get with the program and get your biometric digital ID and start attaching everything to it, because we're not going to accept your cash. We're not going to accept your whatever. Get off the grid. Get out of the cities, folks. But anyway, back to the article, and let's just cut to the news aspect of it. This is from Biometric Update. Delta has announced that its digital ID program is now expanding to 3 major airports: LAX, LaGuardia, and JFK, the latter of which launches on December 14th. The program uses biometric face matching to eliminate the need for manual ID checks at checkpoints like bag drops and security. The program is eligible for customers who have a TSA PreCheck membership, free SkyMiles membership, and the Fly Delta app. They must also have the passport information and a known traveler number stored in their Delta profile. Just logistics there. Eligible customers get an automatic notification in the app when traveling from an airport with the digital ID program. Once they opt in, the Delta digital ID becomes part of their SkyMiles profile. That's a key. Everything's going to be tied in together. It's not just SkyMiles. It's not just your central bank digital currency or your bank account or whatever. It's not just your medical records. Literally everything. They're going to there's going to be a mad rush to integrate with the biometric digital ID, and it's like, okay, so if you're not compliant, if you don't have your biometric digital ID, then you can't do this or you can't do that. These other old technologies. You want to log into Facebook, just look into the camera on your computer or your phone, and that's the only way that you can actually log into Facebook. No passwords. Those are so insecure. This is the only way to get secure in the world. Again, they're going to pitch this, and vast majority of Americans are going to buy into it hook, line, and sinker. There's no way to inform the people and make them say no. The people are going to want this. This is ideal for America in 2020, whatever. I don't think it'll be 2030 anything. I think that we are going to see this in the next few years, maybe sooner than that. But I digress. Customers can opt out at any time in the Delta. So it's always an option until it's not, right? Does not store your biometric data, they claim, which is, of course, we all know that's very unlikely that's the case. Somebody's storing it. Maybe they're not storing it directly, but somebody's storing it, and the NSA and CIA definitely are storing it. FBI, you betcha. Once their information is verified, customers can use digital or Delta digital ID to check bags and move through security without needing to show their physical ID. Individuals go to the line designated for digital IDs with the green Delta digital ID icon and look into the camera at the checkpoint and use their digital IDs in place of physical IDs. The amount of time saved at security lines varies depending on airport volume, but travelers with Delta digital IDs enabled spend an average of 30 seconds at bag drop compared to a standard bag drop time of 2 minutes. And again, take this and expand it out to every facet of life. Anybody who's seen Minority Report, I mean, this is the direction it's going. I mean, it really is. Minority Report, I think it was an okay movie. Okay, I never read the novella or whatever that it was based upon, and I probably should, but it was a pretty good movie. I mean, there were some holes in it for sure. But the technology it's not far off, okay? That technology that as you're walking through, they scan your eyeballs. It wasn't the face, it was the eyeballs. They scan your eyes, and they can do it from a distance. They can do it anywhere, and they scan, and then they're presenting ads to you. They're presenting everything to you. Everything is right there. Virtual technology, virtual reality technology popping up in front of you. It's insane, except it's probably pretty darn close to reality. I like to offer solutions. I'm a solutions guy. I don't have a solution for this one, folks. I really don't. Pray, And some of you are probably sitting there, well, it's not that big of a deal. That's the whole idea. They don't want anybody to think it's that big of a deal. To be walking around everywhere, tracked everywhere we go, every action we take, every purchase we make, every person that we're near, not even just talking to, every person that we're near. This is the pathway to a social credit score. And maybe that's enough to wake people up. Maybe that's something where you might start taking this seriously. Once this whole biometric digital ID thing becomes more prevalent here in the United States, it will be tied to a social credit score or a variation thereof. And that's where you need to be really concerned. So my only solution, other than pray, is to get out of the city, get self-sufficient. I say it all the time. I'll keep saying it. There is no way to exist in normal American life in the very near future without getting on board with these programs, because they will be mandated. You can bank on that. So I've got a special announcement for just you, my wonderful show listeners and viewers. We are in the process, for those who don't know, let me back up a bit. For those who don't know, I am the part owner of a freeze-dried beef company. And we have our first brand new product coming out very, very, very soon. It's actually pretty exciting because, as far as we know, we are going to be the only ones in the United States of America, and probably worldwide, but definitely in the United States of America, that is offering this product. And if you can see on the screen, you'll have an idea of what the product is. Yes, we are going to be offering bison, freeze-dried, long-term storage, shelf-stable, prepper food bison. It will be sous vide. It will be cut up into cubes, and you can take it and survive off of it. Now, for those who aren't familiar, bison is extraordinarily healthy. It is similar to beef, but it is far less fat content. So it is as pure as from a protein perspective, it's as pure of a protein as you can pretty much get. And we are super excited to be bringing that sometime next year, maybe January, probably February. I'm not sure when. But the announcement is not just about the bison. This announcement is about a special that we are now running from now until Christmas. For those who know, we will sometimes do 5%, 10%, 15%. I think one time for one day we ran a 20% discount back in July of 2023. But this will be the first time in our company history that we run a 25% discount just now until Christmas Day. You can get 25% off. We need to clear out space, okay? We just got into our third building, which we're using as a warehouse. We have tons of beef available, obviously, but we need to now clear a lot of that out. And so they have instructed me, asked me, begged me to help them to clear out space, because we are going to need plenty of it for the bison. You can use promo code, go to wholecows.com, WHOLECOWS, wholecows.com, and use promo code ONETIME25. That's one word. So ONETIME25, and you'll get 25% off. And again, I know a lot of companies will be, this is the biggest sale ever, biggest sale of the year. This really is truly, legitimately our biggest sale ever, and it is for a very short time. We've got 10, 11 days left until Christmas. After Christmas, the sale is done. We are planning on selling a whole bunch of this stuff between now and then. Now, for those, here's where it gets really crazy. For those of you out there who can buy $1,000 or more worth of freeze-dried long-term storage beef, you can use promo code ONETIME30. That's ONETIME30 for a 30% discount. Now, one thing I will note, we do get quite a few people that will try to buy over $5,000 worth of beef. We were ill prepared for that, and so we did not, with our payment processor, we did not have it set up to where we could do that. So what we've done is we asked people, you have to buy it in batches. $4,500 here, come back the next day and do $3,500. I know it's a pain. We had one gentleman who did this with over $40,000 worth of freeze-dried beef that he bought. We greatly appreciate him, of course, but he had to do it over like a week's period in order to get it all paid over a week and get it all shipped. And we were able to get it to him obviously very quickly. So for orders of $1,000 or more, use promo code ONETIME30. And even if you're just, you're not buying $30 or $1,000 or more, use promo code ONETIME25. And that is, again, this is the best discount we've ever offered. It's probably the best discount we'll ever offer. And we are only offering it for a very short time. Here's the thing, 10, 15% discount is still great. Okay. At retail price, it's still great. This is the kind of stuff. Yeah. Our freeze-dried beef is the highest quality that you can get. It really legitimately is. I'm not just saying that. It truly is the highest quality that you can get on the market today. If you were to go to your standard prepper food store, prepper food retailer, they will sell you, normally they call it beef crumbles. Some of them will say ground beef, and then they'll also order something like, they'll offer something like beef chunks. These are, I'm not trying to rip on competitors here, I'm just telling you the truth. This is the lowest quality beef that you could possibly get. The way that they look at it, and I understand the concept there, the way that they look at it, hey, this is for survival. Like, nobody's going to care how awful it tastes if they're, trying to survive. I disagree. I think that if you have the means and you don't want to be eating beef crumbles, or let's say you've got a whole bunch of rice and beans and you got like stroganoff, freeze-dried stroganoff and lasagna or whatever, then get this high quality premium freeze-dried beef and use it to supplement. Throw it in chili. Dude, there's so many things you can do with it. We have a lot of customers who will come back often. And they will continue to buy as much as they can, as often as they can, and they use it. They're not just using it for freeze-dried, for long-term storage for survival. They're actually using it on a regular basis, and they're buying it every couple of weeks. One very nice lady in particular, I've talked to her on the phone because she kept buying like 3 or 4 bags every couple of weeks. And so after 2 months of this, I'm like, hey, are you storing up? She's like, no, I'm eating it. I'm serving it to my family. It's like, it's so convenient, because you just take it, hot water, it rehydrates in about 15 minutes, and you can throw it in any. And she actually doesn't even use hot water. She'll throw it in with her stew. She'll throw it in with her chili. She'll throw it in with a casserole, just even still freeze dried, and she'll rehydrate it through that process by cooking it with her food like that, and it works. I mean, I've done it myself where I've rehydrated it with beef broth. Those little packets of beef broth, you take it and you mix it with hot water, and it becomes like a beef broth. I've used that, and I myself have also, of course, partaken in just eating it, not for survival purposes, but because it's good. This is all 100% all American beef. There's no other ingredient. We don't even add salt. No preservatives, of course. We use Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers to make it to where it is shelf stable for up to 25 years. So check it out. Go to wholecows.com. Unfortunately, these promo codes, they are only available at wholecows.com. We have plenty of partners and affiliates that sell. These promo codes won't work there, unfortunately. This is a one-time deal. We're not trying to screw anybody over. We can't afford to pay affiliate fees and also give these kind of discounts. So you can only get this at wholecows.com, promo code onetime25 or onetime30, and help us to make room so that we can start selling freeze-dried bison. This special is only goes on until Christmas Day. So check it out. And if you want all the details, you can always go to discern.tv, and you'll scroll down a little bit and you'll see a picture of a beautiful bison. That's not one of ours, by the way, but against a backdrop of a mountain and woods and a lake. Oh, it's so beautiful, that majestic beast. This is how Native Americans essentially survived for centuries, was off the bison that used to roam freely, and to the tune of 100 million or more of them way back when. Of course, then we screwed all that up. But now you can still get the bison. Not today. We're not offering it yet, but we will be offering it soon. Help us clear out space. Wholecows.com, promo code onetime25, or if you're buying over $1,000 worth, onetime30. That's the good stuff there. We have other needs, and we're facing these challenges across the globe. I think everybody understands that, but particularly here in the United States, we are seeing spikes in prices of pretty much everything. And there is one item in particular that I do list on my must-haves in your survival toolkit that is also going up in price. This article comes from the Gateway Pundit, Anthony Scott over there, reporting ammo prices are set to spike due to worldwide shortage of gunpowder. Of all the things to start running out of, gunpowder, really? Yeah, I guess so. According to the article, Vista Outdoor, the parent company to several ammunition makers such as Federal, CCI, and Remington, has warned prices for ammunition are expected to rise in 2024 due to a worldwide shortage of gunpowder. I wonder why. In a letter sent to customers, Vista Outdoor warned that they would begin to increase prices on all of their ammunition products due to an anticipated global shortage of gunpowder. Vice President of Sales Brett Nelson stated, "Due to world events, our suppliers have notified us of unprecedented demand for and an anticipated global shortage of gunpowder, and thus has increased our prices substantially. Nelson did not refer to what world events are causing the gunpowder shortage, but it's quite clear that the wars in Ukraine and Gaza has resulted in an increased need for ammo. And then Twitter user Roosevelt Terrier says ammo prices set to rise, linking to a Newsweek article. That article says Vista Outdoor, a parent company to many manufacturing businesses, told Newsweek that it will substantially increase its ammunition prices due to an anticipated global shortage of gunpowder. The Minnesota-based company confirmed the authenticity of a December 1 letter sent to a customer that it would go ahead with an across-the-board increase of ammunition and gunpowder prices on January 1st. So about 3 weeks. Due to world events, our suppliers notified us, yada, yada, yada. We already heard that. Remington, CCI, Spear, and Federal Ammunition donated 1 million rounds of ammo to the Ukraine Armed Forces in December of 2022. Wow, that's going to come back and bite us, almost literally. Yeah, so I mean, they're saying these prices are going to be going up here at the beginning of the year. So if you have a preferred gun ammunition supplier, reach out to them, see if they're going to be raising prices, and if they are, it might be a good time, after of course you buy your freeze-dried beef, might be a good time to start stocking up on more ammunition. You can almost never run out of ammunition, and as a lot of people have told me, like especially whenever I promote gold, they say, you know what, my currency is going to be ammunition. I've got plenty of ammunition. I'll be able to barter that for whatever I need. Number one, it's true. That's not horrible if you've got a nice large group of people living in a commune or something. But number two, you don't want to ever get rid of ammunition. And number three, a bartering transaction that involves ammunition might not go as well as you think it's going to go. So I'm not a big fan of using ammo for anything other than to defend myself from crime, from tyranny, from anything where I would need to use my ammunition. I don't want to barter with it. Stock up now is the message here, because you could run out of food, you could run out of water, you could run out of a lot of things, but if you got ammunition, you probably didn't truly run out of food, water. I'm not saying that out loud. I'm not saying, go steal from your neighbors or whatever. I'm just saying you don't want to become victim to those who might be thinking along those lines. I actually had a friend one time long ago, but I would say he's probably still a friend, even though I haven't talked to him for over a decade. Old George, George used to make jokes about that when he, I'm prepared. I got my guns and ammunition. I got 14,000 rounds, and so I'm loaded with food, water, anything that I could possibly need. And of course, his implication there was that he would just go, if the crap hits the fan, then he would just go take it from other people. I am not a proponent of that whatsoever. I am a proponent, however, of being able to defend against people like George, so which once again requires ammunition. So best practice, stock up now. Well, it's not only Christmas season, it's also end of the year time, which means that we're going to be hit with top 5, top 10, top 18, top 34 lists of whatever, top 34 lists of the best cream cake, cheesecake recipes, whatever. You get the idea. And they bug me. Generally speaking, they bug me. Not because I love lists. It's just these end of the year / beginning of the year lists are oftentimes ludicrous. Sometimes they just make me upset, I guess. One list that I do like reading Steve Deace's lists of things that he anticipates, because he'll then at least be brave enough to do a follow-up a year later and say what he got right and wrong. So that's interesting. That to me, spanning over a year's time versus these lists that are generally just lazy. There was one list, though, that caught my attention on Wednesday. Was it Wednesday? No, this came out Thursday morning. This is today. From the Federalist, Jordan Boyd and Sean Fleetwood, they put together a list of 10 naughty bureaucrats, brands, and buffoons who deserve coal in their stocking this year. And it wasn't so much that the list was clever or creative or whatever. It was fine. But it's just the fact that I went up and down the list, and it's like, yeah, I mean, I agree with all 10. So According to the Federalists, Jordan Boyd and Sean Fleetwood, Christmas is supposed to be a season for love, comfort, and joy, but the arrival of the holidays means the Grinches, Scrooges, and corrupt politicians of the world are lurking. This year, unfortunately, yielded an abundance of bureaucrats, brands, and buffoons who blew their shot to make the nice list when they sacrificed common sense and dignity for partisanship and radicalism. Merry Christmas to everyone except these naughty no-gooders. And number one, they have Jack Smith. Oh, the special counsel, the arguably maybe the most militant weapon that they use against Trump. This is a guy that's been working against Trump and working against America, in my humble opinion, for a very long time. And so it's perfect that he would be number one on this list, the first one. Special counsel Jack Smith's association with the corrupt Department of Justice alone was enough to land him in Santa's bad graces. Smith further solidified his place on the naughty list when he brought two legally flawed and politically shady cases against former President Donald Trump over classified documents and the Capitol riot on January 6th, 2021. Smith also demanded that the court gag Trump from criticizing him, President Joe Biden, and other deep state bureaucrats for their hyper-partisan prosecution of his First Amendment right to claim that the 2020 presidential election was stolen, which D.C. District Judge Tanya Chutkan eagerly agreed to do. There's another one who needs to be on this list. We'll see. We'll see if she makes it. But let's be clear. This isn't just about going after Trump. This is also about putting to rest the theft of the 2020 election. Now, I've been extraordinarily disappointed with my conservative friends in media, whether they're in alternative media or fringe media. Far too many of them have abandoned the notion that the 2020 election was stolen. And they do this. Listen, nobody has been proven, oh, well, I used to think that the 2020 election was stolen, but now after looking at the evidence, I don't. No, zero of them have done that. Anybody who was claiming that the 2020 election was stolen, anytime in the recent past, the only reason that they have stopped thinking that, or at least stopped publicly talking about it, is out of fear. It is out of cowardice. They don't want to be labeled. They stuck their finger in the air. They saw the tide was turning, that despite the fact that at one point as many as 70% of Republicans thought that the 2020 election was stolen, they've been gaslighted and propagandized and brainwashed and indoctrinated into thinking that they're the crazy ones. And so as a result of that shift, many of these media people who have the power to maintain the truth, the reality that the 2020 election was stolen, instead they've gone against that. They've gone against their own principles. They've lied, and they've harmed the country as a result. Because what we saw in 2022 with that election, which there were many stolen elections during that election period as well, what we found is that far fewer voices, maybe out of the people that were talking about voter fraud in 2020, come 2022, where there was supposed to be a red tsunami, but there wasn't, so many of them jumped on the bandwagon of saying, oh, it was the Roe v. Wade, it was the abortion issue that made it to where the red tsunami didn't materialize. I know a lot of you, I'm going to get the emails, I'm going to get the comments. You can always hit me up at jdrucker.com/talk. That'll come directly to me. I know I'm going to get comments from people saying, oh, but no, it really was the abortion issue. We've seen that. Let me explain something to you, and I'll get back to this article because now I got to rant real quick. Let me just say this for the record, probably for the fifth time, but it needs to be said over and over again until people really get it through their head. Okay, the abortion issue had absolutely positively zero effect on the 2022 election as far as stopping the red wave. I'm not saying there weren't individual voters that voted based upon Roe v. Wade, based upon the notion that everybody's going to lose their abortion rights if they vote for enough Republicans, right? That was the claim. Here's how we know this is reality. Because every single poll, including corporate media polls that were trying desperately to make Democrats win, even those polls were saying there's going to be a red tsunami. They were bracing for impact. They were ready for it. They knew it was coming. It was a foregone conclusion. Okay? Republicans were going to win big in the 2022 election. And because we see these polls, including polls up to the day of the election, all pointing in one direction, but the reality didn't happen, that can't be attributed to abortion. And here's why. Because nobody came to the conclusion, nobody was sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, okay, so So up until this point, I've told all the pollsters, or any polls that I've been involved with or that I've taken, I've said I'm going to vote for the Republican. I'm going to vote for the Republicans. But by golly, I wake up on election day 2022 and did you guys hear about Roe v. Wade? That Roe v. Wade had been overturned a few months ago, and now if we vote for those Republicans like we said we were going to do a couple of days ago, that now we have to change our mind and vote for the Democrat because otherwise, somebody else is going to lose their abortion rights. And not only does that idiotic scenario have to take place, in one individual, that idiotic scenario, which is impossible, of course, that idiotic scenario has to have played out like that in millions of American voters. It's not possible. It's a flat out lie whenever a conservative show host or blog or whatever tries to tell you that it was because of abortion. Because if that were the case, if it was the abortion issue, that would have been reflected in the polls leading up to the election. It was not the abortion issue. Nobody changed their mind afterwards. And if you say, well, polls are flawed, Rucker, you always say polls are flawed. They are. They're always flawed in the other direction. Okay? They always favor the Democrats. There's never been a poll in modern history that was wrong in that direction. In other words, like when they're wrong because you can usually, basically, if a Republican is within 3 or 4 points, according to the polls, they got about a 50-50 chance of winning. If they're down in the polls by 1 point, okay, they're going to win. If they're up in the polls by 3 points, it's probably going to be a landslide because the polls are designed to favor Democrats. This was the first time in modern history that the polls said the Republicans would win, and they didn't. And no, you cannot blame abortion because that issue was known long before the election. So the poll, if it was abortion, then that would have been reflected in the polls. I can't reiterate this enough because we're now seeing once again, you see what happened in Virginia. That was also because of abortion, because you see that all those people voted for the amendment, the constitutional amendment. Now I'm not going to go start saying that the 2023 Virginia election was also stolen because I don't have data on that. Okay, I've not looked at the evidence. I have seen the evidence from 2022, very clear. I've seen the evidence from 2020, even more clear. Between the two, those were definitely stolen. Okay, now as far as Virginia, it could have been a messaging issue. That might have been about abortion. The polls demonstrated that leading up to the election. The polls showed the chances are the Republicans were going to lose and that the abortion amendment was going to pass. The polls were right. They were close, at least. They were relatively accurate. That makes sense. It doesn't make sense to say that 2022 wasn't stolen, that it was actually just the abortion issue, because again, the polls said otherwise. I'm not one who believes in the polls, but I don't believe in them in the opposite direction. Okay. It's when they say Republicans are going to win, Republicans are going to win. We saw what happened in Arizona. We saw what happened in Pennsylvania. We saw what happened in Georgia. We saw what happened in these places that conspicuously also happened to be places where there were accusations and evidence of massive widespread voter fraud during the 2020 election. Is that a coincidence? No. This is why I get so upset by people who say the 2020 election wasn't stolen, even though they were saying that it was stolen just a year or two ago. These are the people that are saying, move on. Let's just fix it instead of dwelling on that. They're being cowards. They don't want to be labeled as election deniers. They don't want to lose their spot on, in CNN or Fox News as far as getting interviews. They don't want to be hit up by Facebook or Google. Okay, Google's going to stop sending them money. Facebook's going to stop sending them traffic if they say that the elections were stolen. I know they do this because I had one of my I'm no longer on Spotify. I haven't been on Spotify since January of 2021. Why? Because I said the elections were stolen, and I presented evidence that the elections were stolen, and they silenced me as a result. So I get it. I understand that you have to, you have to do what you have to do to protect yourself, protect your show, protect your business, protect your blog, whatever. But I just disagree. Okay? The truth is the truth. I'm going to speak it. If that gets me in trouble, so be it. So be it. Anyway, that's my little rant. Let's get back to the list. This is supposed to be a happy story. I don't know why on the first one I already start ranting. Number 2. Oh, here's one of our favorites, also associated with Trump. Number 2, Letitia James. James is on the naughty list for following through on her campaign promise to sue Trump, his children, and the Trump Organization for allegedly grossly inflating their assets and financial statements by billions of dollars. Despite bringing a case with no merit and no evidence, James continues to work with Arthur Engeron. The guy creeps me out. His name creeps me out. His face creeps me out. Everything about him creeps me out. And I didn't even look at the whole TikTok groups or whatever, Instagram groups or Facebook groups or whatever he was on, where he's like flexing his muscles and don't even want to think about it. A judge of the Supreme Court First Judicial District in New York to silence Trump and keep him from conducting business in the state of New York. This one is, with Jack Smith, I think that there's a lot of multiple layers here. It's not just about going after Trump. It's also about ending once and for all the 2020 election questions. Okay, he's supposed to be shutting the door on that and being that final nail in the coffin, that final threat that, hey, if you go against the results of the 2020 election, then you might even get jail time. Well, that's that message. With Letitia James, it's just because she hates Trump, and she is, as they put it in the article, she is trying to fulfill her campaign promise. I don't see this as being like super multi-layered. I think she's just a bad person with a lot of power, and she's abusing that power greatly, as is Judge Arthur Engeron, Mr. Topless TikToker, whatever you want, or whatever he is. Number 3, David Weiss. One of my favorites. Talk about corruption. Talk about a deep state shill, and really a Biden embraced deep state shill. Every time a bell rings, a corrupt Department of Justice official like Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss gets named special counsel. Weiss and the DOJ deliberately choked the IRS's tax crime investigation and charging recommendations for Hunter Biden because they didn't want to damage the elder Biden's presidential chances. After a federal judge denied Hunter's initial sweetheart plea deal, the Biden son was eventually charged with several tax-related felonies and misdemeanors, but Weiss failed to indict him for any, foreign influence peddling or registered foreign agent violations, things that could, maybe link back more clearly and easily to Joe Biden. This is why everybody was so excited. Hunter got indicted. Hunter got more indictments, federal indictments. This is it. He's finally going to go to jail. I'll go ahead and say it. I don't care about Hunter Biden. I don't care about Hunter Biden's crimes. I really don't. Okay, he's a crackhead. He's probably engaged in some sort of human trafficking. I don't think that he was like a rapist or anything, but I think that he bought prostitutes, he bought crack. He's obviously just a scummy guy. Okay, getting women pregnant, having who knows however many children. There's the ones we know about that may or may not get a Christmas stocking on the Biden's fireplace. What about the ones we don't know about? What about the things that he's done in his life? He's just a horrible, horrible person. Okay, I pity him more than anything else. Joe Biden is the one that I want. Joe Biden is the one whose corruption has done tremendous damage, not to individuals, not to himself. His crimes have done harm to the United States of America. His are the crimes that they're covering up, and they're using Hunter Biden as a scapegoat. And Hunter Biden knows it. Hunter Biden doesn't. I mean, he's probably been brainwashed by his weird and potentially abusive father into doing whatever, almost like a cult child. It's like he's there. He doesn't know why he's so messed up. He doesn't know why he's got to get prostitutes and crack all the time. He doesn't know why he always feels obligated to film himself naked doing drugs. He just does it. He doesn't know what the mental illness is from. It's probably from abuse, but I don't have evidence of that. Not, at least not with him. We have evidence of potential abuse with Ashley Biden, his sister, and old Papa Joe, but we don't have anything with Hunter. I still think it was there, but either way, I think that Hunter knows what his role is. His role is to be a smokescreen. His role is to take some hits from, maybe even possibly serve a little time, but maybe get pardoned. Who knows? Who knows what his role is? Or what he thinks his role is in all this. We do know that he is a smokescreen. We do know for sure that these charges, these tax evasion charges, these are minimal. I mean, we're talking about foreign influence peddling using his father's power, the current installed president of the United States, his power before when he was vice president, being peddled in exchange for financial considerations, including money that went back to Joe himself or to James or to whoever. That's what he needs to be busted on, but they won't go after him. David Weiss won't go after him because David Weiss is in Joe Biden's pocket. This U.S. attorney from Delaware is only a U.S. attorney from Delaware because of his allegiance, his loyalty to Joe Biden and the entire Biden crime family. So yes, he's a great pick for number 3 on this list. Let's keep going before I start spitting. Number 4, the man himself, Joe Biden. Yeah, I shouldn't even read this, but I will. Biden may not technically have a stocking since his family was publicly shamed into ditching the tradition after leaving their 7th grandchild out of last year's display, but he's for sure getting coal for Christmas for the 2nd year in a row for repeatedly denying his role in the Biden family influence peddling scheme. I mean, he was the product. He's the superstar. He's the spokesman. He's the guy that they used. Hunter and James might have been behind the scenes. Other members of the Biden family may have been even deeper behind the scenes, but they were all part of it. I'm not saying literally every single Biden. I'm sure there's got to be some that they're like, oh no, that person's too nice or too smart or whatever. Can't use them. Don't want to bring that in-law into the mix. But I would say most of them are. I mean, we've seen evidence coming out of James Comer's pockets showing how many of the members of the Biden crime family were directly or indirectly involved in the influence peddling scheme. And it's tremendous. And Joe Biden was obviously involved. I mean, not just as the product, but also as the recipient. He is the big guy. He got his 10% of pretty much everything. So, just bugs me. I mean, of all the people in the world that I want to see justice served, he would be in my top 5 for sure. Let's keep going. There's plenty of evidence that Joe, the Biden family brand, financially benefited from arrangements his brother and son made with foreign oligarchs. Emails, texts, voicemails, bank records, receipts, White House visitor logs, photos, and sworn witness testimonies from Biden business associates suggest businessmen with ties to some of the nation's top adversaries eagerly lined the Biden family's pockets with cash, diamonds, and coveted board positions in exchange for proximity to the then vice president. Enough said there. Number 5, Senate Republicans. My favorite. No list would be complete as far as bureaucrats and bad guys that are involved in corruption if you didn't include at least some of the Republicans, some of the members of the uniparty swamp, particularly the Senate Republicans. I can count, I'm not going to name them, but there are literally 3 Republicans in the Senate that I sort of trust. That's it. 3. I mean, what sort of sad testament to our government is there when 97 senators, all the Democrats, and nearly all of the Republicans cannot be trusted? According to the article, Senate Republicans certainly don't deserve presence this year. They may not ever deserve your votes. Freudian slip. They may not even deserve your votes. I said ever, and that may be true. Their gravest 2023 mistake by far was working to take down one of their own, Senator Tommy Tuberville, for daring to hold the Department of Defense accountable for its embrace of Biden's radical abortion agenda. Senate Majority Leader, that's not true. Oh, no, that is true. Sorry. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer later thanked the GOP senators for curbing Tuberville's protests of the Pentagon's baby-killing activities. Think about that. These are supposed to be Republicans, and they're siding with the Democrats to allow the Department of Defense to kill as many babies as possible. What sort of bizarre world do we live in? The upper chamber GOP didn't stop there. They were also indefensibly silent on Biden crime, Biden family corruption, and impeachment, ignored their constituents' feelings about taxpayer-funded abortion, and spent a majority of the year simping for Ukraine. It was only when it was no longer politically beneficial to put a foreign country over their own, a move many Americans have long opposed, that they started to pivot. Senate Republicans are generally worthless. When I say there's 3 that I like, 3 that I sort of trust, That's unacceptable. And there's one of them right there. Tommy Tuberville happens to be one of them. I'm not going to name the other two and not because I'm scared of my opinions or anything like that. It's because I know that I will get flooded with with emails saying, well, what about this guy? You should trust this guy. This guy is trustworthy. Here's 15 examples of what, and I love hearing from you guys. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to, but that's just unnecessary. I don't need people trying to convince me that their Senate Republican is good. Okay. I read this stuff. I listen to stuff. I watch them. I see their actions. I see what they do. I see stuff that maybe many of you don't see, that they don't necessarily do in the forefront. So I don't, I respect your opinions, but I don't want 45 emails about why this senator or that senator deserves to be on my list of good guys. There aren't many of them, and I'm not going to listen. But one of them, we'll go ahead and say it, Tommy Tuberville. I like him. There's still a lot to know about him, but his sheer just bravado. I mean, his cojones that he displayed by going against so many, including people in his own party, to fight for something that he truly believed in. That is admirable. We can look at the other things, maybe some, hits or misses there, but on this regard, he was a rock star, and it's unfortunate that he was the only rock star as far as that committee is concerned. Number 6, elite universities. Presidents from 3 of the nation's top universities refuse to admit that student calls for Jewish genocide following Hamas's October 7 attack on Israel violate their schools' codes of conduct. Backlash ensued, prompting both University of Pennsylvania President M. Elizabeth McGill, who faces a forced resignation, and Harvard President Claudine Gay to issue apologies days after the hearing. In an interview with the student newspaper The Crimson, Gay blamed her delayed condemnation of anti-Semitism on a failure to return to my guiding truth. As one CleverX user noted, Harvard's slogan is Veritas, not Veritas Mai, which means my truth, my guiding truth. These people, these are the ones that are supposed to be these are the ones that are supposed to be teaching your children, my children, how to interact in this world, how to interact with their careers. They're not supposed to be teaching the children and these young adults what to think regarding politics, culture, faith, and yet they do. As a matter of fact, that's their primary focus. I saw this this video. I don't have it handy, or else I would play it for you. But it was interesting because it took Stefanik's condemnation, or her attacks against her questions, we'll say, her questions of McGill, asking her to denounce calls for genocide against Jews. It replaced the word Jews with other not just races, also other what's the word for it? I always forget. Protected classes, but that's not the word I'm looking for. Anyway, it called for it used AI to have her say, would it be wrong to call for the genocide of LGBTQ people? Would it be wrong to, do you think that it is harassment to call for the deaths of all black and brown people? And this was obviously AI generated. But when you start looking at it, take out the word Jews, you start inserting these other groups, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, this should have been a no-brainer. And as she said, this should have been the easiest yes answer, period. Yet it wasn't. And these are the people that are supposed to be teaching your sons and daughters how to think. Speaking of which, they don't even know what a woman is. They can't define a woman. I don't get it. I don't get it. My youngest, I don't know if things don't change, I don't want my youngest to go to college. I really don't. That's a sad testament when it's like, oh, please, Lord, don't give him the desire to go to college. Let him just make it through homeschooling and private school and whatever we can do, and then just have him go out in the real world and do whatever. Don't make him want to go to college. What sort of world do we live in? Number 7. This is an interesting one. This is one that I didn't expect, even though after reading it, it's like, well, of course, yeah, they qualify. Number 7, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Who cares? Who cares? Who doesn't love a good baseball game? There are rowdy fans, crackerjacks, and drag queens. Yeah, well, at least at Los Angeles Dodgers games there are. Instead of focusing solely on the sport, which is what any real sports fan cares about, the Dodgers decided to honor an anti-Christian drag group during this year's Pride Night game. Known as the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, the group's members mock Christians by dressing up as so-called queer and trans nuns and performing highly offensive acts on biblical symbols, including the cross. While initially disinviting the group after public backlash, the Dodgers caved to the leftist mob by apologizing to the sisters and begging them to attend the Pride event. If that's not worthy of coal this Christmas, I don't know what is. And this is a perfect example. If you're still going to Dodgers games, then you might as well be ordering your Bud Light while you're there. I mean, we have to take stands. We have to. In scenarios like this, we have to. The reason that the leftist mob is able to do what they do is because they don't back down. They double down every time. Now you might say, well, do we really want to be that vindictive? Do we really want to be that illogical? Do we really want to not forgive? Do we really want to employ leftist tactics? And unfortunately, the answer for right now is yes. When it comes to if we really want to eliminate all this woke lunacy, the only way that we have the power to do that is by saying anyone who does that is forever never going to get our dollars. I mean, unless absolutely positively necessary. We can't continue to say, okay, we're mad at you. Hopefully you learned your lesson because of our anger. Great. No, let's go play ball. That doesn't work. Oh, but I'm a big baseball fan. I don't care. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry if I offend people by saying I don't care how much you love baseball. I remember I'm not going to say who, I got into a debate, an argument. This was about football at the time, but I got into an argument with a prominent journalist who was talking about how he loves to go to football games and do this. And I'm like, he's like, I really wish they wouldn't do this at football games. I really wish they wouldn't do that. I'm like, then dude, why do you go? I mean, why support that? Why do you encourage that? Why do you have this need for entertainment that's so bad that you have to take your money and you have to use it. You have to give it to these people who are going to use that money against everything that you believe in. Is that wrong? Or do you not understand how that works? I was pretty aggressive about it, but he shot back with, well, I mean, he gave me hopefully you guys can't figure out who it is because I don't want to out this person because there is a good guy, but he gave me this sob story about how when his dad was alive that football was the thing that unified them and that his every game that he watches is as if he's spending more time with his dad. And it's like, okay, I get it. I mean, people will do whatever they want to do. Okay, people will do whatever they feel is necessary to establish the connections that they want. I'm not going to say, oh, that's BS. Give me a break. But it probably is. I mean, I'll say it. I just don't see that watching a football game every Sunday is what creates an emotional connection with your father that it's no longer, it doesn't matter. I don't care how bad it gets. I don't care how much my money, my support for the NFL is going to be used to destroy the United States of America. At least this way I get to remember my pops. No, I don't buy it. I'm calling BS. Yeah. I can already hear the hate mail being typed up against me, but I don't like that. I'm not buying it. I'm not digging into that. Anyway, I picked the wrong list. This is the wrong list to do today. If you're going to go to an LA Dodgers game, you might as well drink Bud Light, right? Speaking of Bud Light, that's number 8 on the list. Bud Light, of course. Of course, they have to make a list. What better way to make the Yuletide gay than by chugging down a cold can of Bud Light after partnering with woman pretender and TikTok influencer Dylan Mulvaney this year? The Anheuser-Busch's brand sales tanked, with drinkers abandoning the beer quicker than Hunter Biden left town when he found out the stripper he had sex with was pregnant. Sales got so bad that retailers could hardly even give Bud Light away for free. But that didn't stop the beer giant from doubling down on its LGBT obsession by sponsoring various Pride events throughout the country. This is why I'm so annoyed with, annoyed is probably the wrong word. I'm very disappointed with both Dana White and Kid Rock. There we go. Kid Rock, Dana White, and any of the others who are out there now saying, hey, Bud Light, they got their black eye. We bloodied their nose. Now it's time to forgive them. Forgive and forget. That doesn't happen with the left. And again, I'm not saying, the left, we have to adopt all of their styles, all their strategies. This particular one works. They being pretty much every corporation out there, they fear repercussions from the woke left. They don't fear repercussions from the conservative right. Maybe they will if Bud Light if Anheuser-Busch can essentially tank, if the Bud Light brand could be essentially eliminated altogether from the United States, only then would it be like, holy cow, that if we go full woke, they might actually take it that far. Gosh, let's rethink this campaign. Gosh, let's rethink about indoctrinating and grooming children. Gosh, let's rethink all of this stuff. They're not going to say, gosh, let's rethink anything. If we then, after a few months of pain, it's like, okay, you guys are back. Everybody drink Bud Light now. It's okay. We gave them the bloody nose. They learned their lesson. By golly, the message isn't to Bud Light. Bud Light is the example. Bud Light is the demonstration of what we can do. So don't tell me, now let's forgive Bud Light. That's ridiculous. It is. And as I said in my earlier segment last hour, for those who missed it, I thought that Bud Light was the wrong target. I think they're an easy target, but let's face it. Putting a transgender dude on a can is far less egregious than directly trying to indoctrinate and brainwash children, which a lot of other companies do. Okay, we should be destroying Disney. And I know a lot of people are, okay? But clearly they're a much bigger organization and it's going to take a much more concerted effort. We have to do it. These companies, it's not about let's hit them a little bit and then go back to business as usual. That's not going to get us anywhere. Because when they weigh the decision tree, when it's like, okay, so if we go up against the conservative values, we'll call it, then there's a chance that we might actually suffer some financial problems, but they'll come back around eventually. We'll get some conservative heroes and celebrities to go out there and say, hey guys, we bloodied their nose. Now let's hop back on board. We'll pay for that. We've seen what Bud Light did. We'll follow that playbook. We'll just do it faster so we don't have to experience much pain. And then you look at the other side and see, but if instead, if we make the woke mob upset, then it's permanent and it's devastating and we won't be able to survive. So which one do you think they're going to go for? We're not going to end wokeness until we destroy something. Now, again, I'm not calling for violence. I'm talking about destroy something financially speaking. Okay. There are people out there, Chick-fil-A hasn't been a direct target for years. Okay. They haven't made the news for years with their stuff. If anything, they've pissed off some Republicans with or some conservatives with the news they've participated in. But with that said, there are those who were boycotting, because Chick-fil-A was too Christian, too conservative. Those who were boycotting them a decade ago are still boycotting them today. At no point in the last 10 years did anybody say, okay, guys, we really hit them in the nose. Now let's all go get us some more Chick-fil-A. No, it was over. They were done. And thankfully, we reacted on our side with positivity by bringing them more business. It's funny because I haven't had Chick-fil-A in a long time for other reasons, but whatever. Point is that we can't back down, ever. They make a mistake, and then it's over. We can't. They're gone. You might say, well, is there any room for forgiveness? I would say yes. I would say that room for forgiveness would come with some action that warrants it. A symbolic action in many cases, and in other cases, a much more direct action. In other words, like in the case of Bud Light, it's like, okay, a bold statement and basically an apology tour where it's like, you know what, we've come to the conclusion we really screwed up, not just because of hiring Dylan Mulvaney, but because we abandoned this nation that we firmly believe in. This nation that has adopted us, because Anheuser-Busch is not, of course, an American company. This nation that has adopted us. We should have known better. And so as a result, we've gotten rid of the board. We got rid of the CEO, marketing. It's a whole new revamp, and we are going with an America First mentality. Under that scenario, it'd be like, okay, fine. Let's reward Bud Light for coming to their senses and reversing themselves. It was just a matter of, hey, they did wrong, and so now we're going to try to do right by them, because they've had enough damage. Not good enough. When will I start watching the NFL on a regular basis again? When they apologize, which they never will do. When they apologize for desecrating the national anthem by giving it equal playtime with the so-called black national anthem, that they're racist. I mean, that's racism. They didn't play a white national anthem. They didn't play a Hispanic national anthem. They shouldn't have played the black national anthem if they weren't going to do it across the board. And they should not have done, and even if they were, I would still be upset with them, because we're talking about the national anthem, the regular American national anthem. That takes primacy over everything else. Okay? They want to do play the black national anthem later or separately, and they want to play it with all the other, I don't even know, I'm pretty sure there's probably not a white national anthem or a Hispanic national anthem or an Asian American national anthem. It's only a black national anthem. But why does that get... The problem is they don't understand that they're racist. Okay? It's just like that mayor in Boston, right? She sends out this thing. She wasn't upset that she was having a Christmas party for only persons of color. She was upset and she was sad. She was apologetic, semi-apologetic, because the email went out to include white people. It wasn't because of the event. It was because she made the mistake of letting white people know about the racist event. And that is racism, period. Okay? Just whenever you have any doubts, any questions, is it racist to have a Christmas party where only persons of color are allowed to attend? Just reverse it and see if it sounds racist. Would it be racist if we had a Christmas party but only white people could attend? Well, of course it would. Just as it's racist if you have a Christmas party that only persons of color are allowed to attend. We were so close, folks. We were so close. Racism was in the process of being eliminated before Barack Obama got here. And by eliminated, you're never going to be able to completely eliminate it, but you could eliminate 94, 95, 98% of it. You can make it to where racism is frowned upon across the board. Today, racism is embraced, I would say, by almost a majority of Americans. Racism, we have become more racist than we've been in decades. This racism is reverse of what it was. Before it was white, anti-African American or anti-Hispanic or anti-whatever, anti-minority, we'll say, racism. Now it's reversed. Now it's anti-white racism. In some cases, they throw in, Asian Americans as white, because I guess for whatever reason we are white now. We didn't used to be, but now we are. And of course, they throw in Jews. Jews are also, it's acceptable to be anti-Semitic. You just can't be Islamic phobic. It's acceptable to be anti-white. You just can't be anti-black. It's acceptable to include Asian Americans in that anti-white sentiment whenever it's convenient, and to consider them minorities when it's not convenient. We are divided. We are more racist as a nation than we have been in decades. Think about that. And I do blame Barack Obama, and I do blame BLM, and I do blame Antifa, and I do blame Joe Biden for perpetuating this. I mean, think about how, just imagine this. Again, same scenario. He said he's going to have a vice president and then a Supreme Court justice, two of the most powerful people in the nation, and he's going to eliminate 84% of the possible candidates. And he's not going to select these people based strictly on who is most deserving, who is most qualified to handle the positions, these extremely important positions. No. We're going to not necessarily pick out the best candidate. We're going to pick out the candidate that fits our racist ideas. The candidate has to be whoever the Supreme Court justice is and whoever the vice president is, they have to be a black woman. Okay? That was the criteria. That's racism. Plain and simple. And if Joe Biden or Donald Trump or anybody else had said, we're going to get the best white male and that person's going to be the next Supreme Court justice, that would have been racism as well. And it would have been called out as racism. But because these were black females involved. Anyway, man, I lingered on Bud Light for way too long. That, in case you forgot, that was just number 8. Let's go to number 9. Here's my favorite Target. Pun intended. And this is the one where I do believe, just to be clear, what Bud Light got, Target should have gotten a lot worse. Target was going after people. Target was going after children. Target still is going after children. With indoctrination, brainwashing, grooming. That's wrong. It's wrong, folks. Okay? According to the article, Target and the naughty list go way back, but the company's partnership with a Satan supporter who called for the eradication of critics of transgenderism and its Pride Month displays features light binding effects, tops, and tuck-friendly bottoms. This angered millions of Americans. Apparently not enough. A boycott prompted by Target's alphabet endorsement sent the once-beloved company's sales spiraling. Not enough. Despite the clear connection between its embrace of radical gender ideology and flailing financials, Target ended the year promoting its line of LGBT-themed Christmas products, including gay and trans nutcrackers. And it's funny they didn't notice in here, but Target's leadership considers you and me to be very dangerous. They consider us to be extremely dangerous, not to their bottom line, mind you. They consider us to be dangerous people. They're not worried about drag queens exposing small children to sexual depravity. That's not dangerous to them. That's normal. I would hate, I'm just going to go out and say it. These people that are promoting this stuff, my gosh, the ones I feel worse for are their children. If they have children, whether they're adopted or biological children that they have, these poor kids, I mean, they are going to grow up confused. Many of them are going to grow up abused, and they're not going to be ill-prepared for the world. I weep for our future dramatically. And it really is bad based upon, these people, such as the leaders at Target, who consider you to be dangerous because you're sitting at home and you have an objection to LGBTQIA plus indoctrination at a retail store. They're saying that we really sent their sales spiraling. We didn't. How do I know this? Because they still exist. Target's sins means that the boycotts should still be going on. They should be permanent. And again, with the exception of if they ever, if they, for whatever reason, they sell out to an all-American brand and then they make dramatic changes to everything, that's what it would take for me to ever forgive them, for me to ever step foot in a Target ever again. I remember the last time I shopped at a Target. It was before Trump was president. So that gives you an idea. I think it was 2015. It might have been 2016, the last time I stepped foot inside of a Target. Last but not least, Taylor Swift. I'm not going to get into this one. I get it. She won Person of the Year. I just don't care enough about her. For whatever reason, she's like the topic of every other Fox News story, every other mainstream media story. I don't get it. She's a pop star. What's the... I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. I couldn't tell you a single Taylor Swift song, and I'm not saying that out of pride. I'm saying that out of ignorance, because for somebody who is apparently so powerful, so important, I know absolutely nothing about her other than that her boyfriend was tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's the extent of my knowledge. All right, let's move on. Lord willing, I will be back very soon with another episode. But in the meantime, y'all stay strong, stay safe, and God bless.